आज का हमारा टॉपिक है लेयर्ड क्लाउड आर्किटेक्चर। पिछले लेक्चर में हमने वर्चुअलाइजेशंस के बारे में देखा था एंड हाउ वी कैन वर्चुअलाइज एनी कंपोनेंट आइदर इन द हार्डवेयर फॉर्मेट और इन द सॉफ्टवेयर फॉर्मेट। सो उसके बाद वर्चुअलाइजेशंस के बाद व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट टेक्निक टू वर्चुअलाइज एनी सिस्टम्स and how we will can communicate with each other. These are things are done in the previous lecture. आज हमारा जो है that is the layered cloud architecture. So layered cloud architecture में सबसे पहले क्या होगा, this one is the topic and the layered cloud architecture. सबसे हमारा first layer is a physical layer. First layer we will put on the physical layer. फिजिकल लेयर सबसे नीचे का लेयर होगा और इसके बाद आता है हमारा वर्चुअलाइज्ड लेयर। वर्चुअलाइज्ड लेयर, वर्चुअलाइज्ड लेयर के बाद जितने भी हमारे सर्विसेज होते हैं क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग के, जैसा कि आप लोगों को पता है कि क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग प्रोवाइड 3 सर्विसेज एंड दैट वन इज द इंफॉर्मेशन एज अ सर्विसेज. So next layer is information as a services. Next one is a platform as a services, and next layer is a information software as a services. So these are the different layer of a layered cloud architecture. So these are the different layer of layered cloud architecture. So सबसे पहले that is a physical layer. Means where a physical component is really situated. Second one is a virtualized layer, means where with the help of virtualizations we can virtualize our physical layer into different virtual machines, and on this virtualizations layer we can perform information as a services or platform as a services or software as a services. So these are the different layers available in the layered cloud architecture, and these are called service layer. These 3 layers are called service layer. So we know SERVICE, service layer means information की सर्विस, प्लेटफॉर्म की सर्विस एंड सॉफ्टवेयर की सर्विस. Now, what is the role of each layer? So, if we talk about the physical layer, then what is the responsibility of physical layer? If we talk about the virtualized layer, then what will be the responsibility of virtualized layer? What is the responsibility of information as a services? What is the responsibility of platform as a services? And what is the responsibility of software as a services? आप लोग, so in the physical layer our real hardware or software or network on cloud spot means in the physical layer we will put our real hardware, we will put our real software or real network, means a hardware component in the reality, not in virtuality. All the component in the real format in the layer of physical layer. So this one is the physical layer. In the virtualized layer, that is the ability of form, means virtualize the things which are available at the physical layer. This is the simple thing. Virtualize on the component means virtual component either hardware or software or network. And why we will put a virtualization layer in the middle of service layer and a physical layer? Because we know that in the case of cloud computing, we cannot perform any operation on the real component. What are the things why we are not performing any operations on the physical layer, or why we are not performing any communications between the real hardware or software? Because there is a high risk to the temperament of the real hardware or software, and to avoid this we use a virtualization layer. With the help of hypervisor or with the help of Zen hypervisor, we can virtualize our physical layer into virtualized layer, and these all things we have studied in the previous lecture. So in the physical layer, we put original components, either original software or original hardware or original network. In the case of virtualized layer, we virtualize these things. And in reality, these virtualizations layer now communicate with the information as a services, will communicate as a platform as a services, or will communicate with the software as a services. Fine. And now what is the SaaS, PaaS and IaaS? These all are already discussed in the first or second lecture. What is the information as a services? What are the platform as a services? And what are the software as a services? So information as a services means if we inform like as any information, or we can say that offer an application centric environment, offer an application centric environment for the computations, offer an application centric environment for the computations. In the case of platform, so in case of platform, offer an platform where we can produce, or we can generate, or we can manage any applications or any software. So if we need a platform, like as if we want to development an application on .NET, and in the real scenario, there is a way that firstly, if we are not working on the cloud, if we are not working on the cloud, we are working our own computer, then we need the setup of .NET framework. But if we want to work on the cloud, then there is no need to install the .NET framework in my local computer. We simply can communicate with the cloud, and we can perform different operations which we want to need. So in the case of platform as a services, we can work on the .NET platform without installing in our local network. And in the case of software as a services, final ready software we can use. In real scenario, like as a, if you want to run a movie, you want to play a movie, then you need any multimedia software in your local system. But you want to play a movie on the cloud, then you does not need any local media player in your local system. We simply can use the software which are available on the cloud. So this one means SaaS, we can say that provide application via the internet. Any applications which we want to use, so provide applications via internet. So these are the layered cloud architecture. These are the layered cloud architecture. Like as we have a single example to understand all these things. Suppose if we talk about before the cloud computing architecture, on YouTube, you want to see a videos. बट बिफोर दिस सिनेरियो फर्स्टली हम क्या करते थे, डाउनलोड करते थे. आफ्टर डाउनलोडिंग, अब भी हम लोग करते हैं. सो आफ्टर डाउनलोडिंग वी कैन प्ले इन आवर लोकल सिस्टम. बट नाउ इन दीज डेज वी कैन डायरेक्टली रन दीज वीडियो ऑन द यूट्यूब. There is no need any media player installations or media player. There is only no need any installations of sound or graphics card. We can simply run these video on the YouTube, or we can simply interact with the Google Box, Google Drive, Amazon. These are the cloud computing services or cloud provided services. So these are the layered where cloud computing can perform. Now, next topic is NIST Cloud Computing Reference Architecture. NIST Cloud Computing Reference Architecture. NIST Cloud Computing Reference Architecture. What is NIST? So NIST stand for National Institute of Software and Technology. National Institute of Software Standard and Technology. National Institute of Standard and Technology. So this one means NIST is a modern technology, a modern reference model for the cloud computing architecture. आज से मुश्किल से 7-8 साल पहले ये NIST, there are no any need of NIST or NIST not provide any reference architecture for the cloud computing. But now in the scenario, NIST play a very important role for the computational reference architecture for the cloud computing. So in the NIST cloud computing reference architecture, there is a cloud consumer and a cloud carrier. There are different components. Let us see one by one. This one is a cloud carrier. Cloud carrier, one layer. One layer is cloud consumer. This one is a cloud consumer. Next layer is a cloud provider and cloud broker. Cloud provider, and next layer is a cloud broker. So this architecture is defined by the NIST. One is the component is a cloud carrier, one is the component is cloud consumer, cloud provider and cloud broker. Means जो cloud service provide करता है that is called the cloud provider. जो cloud service लेता है that is called cloud consumer. जिसके थ्रू लेता है cloud broker, और जिसके थ्रू एक स्थान से दूसरे स्थान में मीन्स कम्युनिकेशंस, फॉर द कम्युनिकेशंस वी नीड द क्लाउड कैरियर. ना अब एक एक चीज में देखते हैं कि लाइक एज द क्लाउड कंज्यूमर की बात कर रहे हैं, देन इन केस ऑफ क्लाउड कंज्यूमर वी कैन डिवाइड दिस क्लाउड कंज्यूमर इनटू टू पार्ट्स. वन इज द क्लाउड कंज्यूमर एंड सेकंड वन इज द क्लाउड ऑडिटर. Second one is a cloud auditor. And in the case of cloud auditor, there is a security audit, privacy audit, and performance audit. Security, privacy, and performance. So these are the one thing is we can divide the cloud consumer into two parts. First one is a cloud consumer, then cloud auditor, and a cloud auditor can audit like as a security audit, privacy audit, and performance audit. So which can measure or which can perform or which can analysis anything, that is called the cloud auditor. In the same way, we can break cloud provider as a service, like as a service in the sense we can talk about software as a services, platform as a services, and information as a services. So these are the service: software as a services, platform as a services, and information as a services. And what are the role, we can already understand about all these things. Then there is a cloud service management. Cloud service management, cloud service management for the business setup, cloud service management for the business setup. And for security and privacy, there is another thin layer between the broker and provider. So there is one another layer for security and there is another layer for the privacy. So this one is known as a security and this one is known as a privacy. So for the because we know that in the case of cloud, security play a major role. हर एक के केस में सिक्योरिटी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. यहाँ पे भी सिक्योरिटी एंड प्राइवेसी, जो भी डेटा हम रख रहे हैं वो सिक्योर है कि नहीं है, और जो भी डेटा हम रख रहे हैं वो उसकी प्राइवेसी है या नहीं है. एंड क्लाउड ब्रोकर नोन एज अ सर्विस इंटरमीडिएटर एंड एग्रीगेशंस. सर्विस इंटरमीडिएटर, service intermediator, and service agreement. These are the role of cloud broker. So एक बार और रिवीजन कर लेते हैं. व्हाट आर द NIST क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग रेफरेंस मॉडल. एक एक के बारे में अलग से देखेंगे, हर एक लेयर कैसे कम्युनिकेट कर रहा है, बट एक ओवरऑल सिचुएशन हमारी यही होती है. देयर इज अ क्लाउड कैरियर एंड ऑन द अबव, ऑन द टॉप ऑफ क्लाउड कैरियर देयर इज अ क्लाउड कंज्यूमर एंड अ क्लाउड ऑडिटर. And these are the cloud provider, and cloud provider have some services like as a software as a services, platform as a services, and information as a services, as well as the type of the cloud like as a public cloud, personal cloud या hybrid cloud. Public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. So these are the type of cloud, and there is another layer that is called the cloud broker, and this cloud broker have a service intermediator and a service agreement. Between the cloud provider and the cloud broker, there is a two layer. First one is called a security layer. So this one is known as a security layer. And second one is a privacy layer. So this layer is known as a privacy layer. For the point of security, work on the security layer, and for the privacy, work on the privacy layer. So these are the reference architecture provided by the NIST. Now, what is the cloud consumer? what is the cloud auditor, what is the cloud carrier, what is the cloud provider, what is the cloud broker. These things we can understand here easily with one by one. So next we will see what is definition of all components. So we see what is the cloud provider one by one, like as a cloud consumer, cloud provider, cloud broker, and cloud auditor, and another things which we have studied in this architecture. So first one is a cloud consumer. So cloud consumer is a person or organization that maintain the business relationship, is a person or organizations which maintain the business relationship. That one is the cloud consumer. Is a person or organization which maintain the business relationship with the service from the cloud provider. Relationship with the service from cloud provider. So this one is the cloud consumer, which maintain the relationship with the service provider or with the service cloud provider. Next one is the cloud provider. So it is again is a person or organizations. Either we can provide a service or any organization provide the service. So a person or organization which is responsible for making a service available. Which one is the responsible for service availability? Which one is the responsible for service availability? Being as the company owner, I am the responsible for the service provider, or I have the responsibility for the service. So which service we give, consumer can take. According to the consumer, I can provide the service, or according to me, I can also provide the service. Which one is needed? Either this is a public or private or a hybrid. So all these things, the communication between the consumer and provider is happen on the basis of public cloud, private cloud or hybrid cloud. Next one is the cloud broker. So cloud broker is an entity that manages the performance and the delivery of cloud services. Manage the performance, manage the performance and record the entity, is known as cloud broker. What is the cloud auditor? So cloud auditor is a party that can conduct independent assessment of cloud services. Assessment of cloud services. लाइक ऐसे कि मुझे एक मकान खरीदना है और मैं डीएलएफ से खरीदना चाहता हूं। डीएलएफ एक कंपनी है, मैं उससे एक फ्लैट खरीदना चाहता हूं। सो आई एम द कंज्यूमर, दिस वन इज द प्रोवाइडर। अब बीच में जो छोटे छोटे ब्रोकर होते हैं जो प्रॉपर्टी डीलर कहलाते हैं, दैट इज नोन एज अ ब्रोकर। एंड ऑडिटर जो ये ऑडिट करेगा कि क्या ये डीएलएफ में जो बिल्डिंग बनाया हुआ है ये सारे मानकों पे खरा उतर रहा है। सो ऑडिटर कैन असेसमेंट द थिंग्स लाइक एज अ विच टाइप ऑफ component uses by the DLF is on the basis of standard norms. So this one is the responsibility of auditor. So these are the different component of NIST computing architecture: cloud consumer, cloud provider, cloud broker, auditor. Next one is we have known as a security and privacy. So all things you know कि जो भी सिक्योरिटी के इश्यूज हैं, लाइक एज वी यूज डिफरेंट एल्गोरिथम फॉर सिक्योरिटी पर्पज, SHA और SHA-1 और MD5, पब्लिक की क्रिप्टोग्राफी, प्राइवेट की क्रिप्टोग्राफी एंड ऑल द थिंग्स जो आप कंप्यूटर नेटवर्क में पढ़ेंगे, दैट विल बी यूज फॉर द सिक्योरिटी। एंड प्राइवेसी मीन्स ऑथेंटिकेशन। इफ आई एम द प्राइवेट पर्सन फॉर एक्सेस द services provided by the cloud computing services, only I can access the services. That is called the privacy or authentications. So these are the different services. Now how cloud consumer, how cloud provider, or how auditor and broker can communicate. So cloud consumer, cloud auditor, cloud provider, and one thing is cloud broker. So this cloud consumer can communicate with the cloud provider, with the cloud broker, or with the cloud auditor. This cloud provider can communicate with the cloud consumer, cloud broker, and cloud auditor. This cloud broker can communicate with the cloud provider, cloud consumer, and the cloud auditor. And this one cloud auditor can communicate with the cloud broker, cloud consumer, and the cloud provider. So all component can communicate with each other. all component can communicate with the each other either directly or indirectly. Like as a consumer can communicate with the cloud provider directly or indirectly. Cloud consumer can communicate with the cloud broker directly or indirectly. It depends on the conditions, which conditions we have applied, that they have communicated with the directly or indirectly. So we can categorize these cases into three conditions, and we will discuss one by one each conditions. Like I say, in the first condition, where consumer can communicate with the cloud provider with the cloud broker. Consumer can communicate with the cloud provider like as a cloud provider 1, cloud provider 2. So cloud consumer can communicate with the cloud provider indirectly. So we need a cloud broker. And this cloud broker can communicate with the cloud providers. So if a cloud consumer want to communicate with the cloud provider 1 or cloud provider 2, then they cannot directly communicate with the cloud provider. Firstly, they communicate with the cloud broker. So this one is the case where a cloud consumer may request service from a cloud broker instead of contacting a cloud provider directly. In second scenario, where a cloud consumer can communicate with the cloud carrier, but they cannot communicate with the directly. So a cloud consumer want to communicate with the cloud carrier, but they cannot communicate directly. So for this, we use another layer that is called the cloud provider. Now, in this case, a cloud consumer want to communicate cloud carrier, but cloud consumer cannot directly coordinate with the cloud carrier. So firstly, consumer can contact with the cloud provider. Now cloud provider can contact with the cloud carrier, and for this we use a mechanism called SLA, that is service level agreement. SLA. SLA. Service level agreement. SLA stand for service level agreement. So this one is a SLA1 and this one is a SLA2. So cloud consumer can communicate with the cloud provider with the help of service level agreement. Now this cloud provider can communicate with the cloud carrier with the help of service level agreement. This agreement is another thing, this agreement is another thing. Mean the agreement between the cloud consumer and cloud provider is known as a SLA1. And there is another agreement which has been done between the cloud provider and the cloud carrier is known as a service level agreement 2. This one is the second scenario. In third scenario, we can say that cloud consumer can communicate with the cloud provider, but they cannot directly communicate with the cloud provider. So there is a third layer called cloud auditor. So a cloud consumer can communicate with the cloud auditor, and a cloud auditor now communicate with the cloud provider, or a cloud consumer can directly communicate with the cloud provider. But in the case of a cloud consumer can direct communicate with the cloud provider, then auditor have no any responsibility for any mishappening. If cloud consumer can communicate with the cloud provider, then cloud auditor will be responsible for any mishappening. So these are the three scenario. This one is the scenario 2, this one is the scenario 3, and initially which we have studied is known as a scenario 1. So these are the three scenario where a NIST layer architecture can communicate, or NIST provide an architecture for the cloud computing, and how each one level can communicate with the another level can understand with the help of three scenario. So these are the topic for the today lecture. Now in next lecture we have seen what are the different components can be used in the different way. Thank you.